Yep. Okay. Just step. Everybody ready? Are we ready, Clay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hope that prayer is a sermon.
Yep. Okay.
I know.
Exactly. Appreciate everybody coming. Welcome tonight, and let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag. And Mr. Lesher is going to say the prayer for tonight.
Almighty God, in your wisdom you created all things good, and the earth is full of your creatures, great and small. Guide us to be good stewards of all you have created, and grant that we might be good stewards too of what has been passed on to us, that we might work toward the betterment of living and working in Talbot County for all our people. In your most holy name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Lesher. Appreciate that. Welcome everybody tonight, and we'll get started here. On the agenda tonight, council has the October 18th before them. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, the chair moves that the agenda be accepted as unanimous consent. The next is going to be the disbursements of October 18th. The council's had a chance to review them. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Okay, so the hearing none, the chair moves that the disbursements be accepted as unanimous consent. Okay, so we're going to start off with the county manager report. Mr. Stan?
Yeah, good evening,
Yep.
Mr. Council President, members of the council. Ray Clark, you can come on up if you don't mind. I have 3 items for you this evening. Start off, the first is board and committee appointments. The first is requesting council's appointment of Mary Lou Butler, community health educator with the Talbot County Health Department, to the Talbot County Drug and Alcohol Abuse Council.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, got a motion second to put Mary Lou on the committee. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Okay, and bear with me here. I have Ray Clark that can speak to the specifics on 2 matters. The first one is a recommendation referring to bid number 2013 wastewater treatment plant sludge management improvements belt filter press replacement, St. Michael's, Talbot County. This is for a change order number 2 and number 3. And as you read in your packet, the county engineer is requesting council approval of change orders 2 and 3 that will increase the contract by $62,496.10. Change order 2 is a no-cost change order that increases the contract time by 60 days. Change order 3 includes additional water piping, pump modifications, and some additional electrical work related to the pump modifications. If approved, the change orders will exceed the approved budget by $28,762.10, which will be charged to repairs and maintenance line items in the Region 2 and Region 1 sanitary districts budgets. And Ray Clark can speak to any more specifics on this request.
Yes, Council, again, as noted by Clay, we are basically going to be over our capital spending, which was $600,000. This will take us up to $628,000. What was it? $762.10. This would then be spread out amongst all the operating budgets for Unionville, Tinsville, Scotlandville, which is Region 1, Royal Oak, Newcomb, and Bellevue, which is Region 2, Region 2 Martingham, as well as Region 2 St. Michael's. We are in the process of working with rural development. We are seeking this is a loan through rural development, but we are seeking a grant at this point in time. Just for the council, we would have, if we, in our efforts in trying to get a grant, we'd have to put an ad out and then in the paper noting that we are seeking grant funding through rural development, and it would be for that amount, the $28,760 some odd dollars. And then we may have to have a public hearing for that as well if we end up becoming successful in receiving those funds. We have not received any notification from rural development at this time that we are eligible for those funds. They do have grant funding, but we've not been told, yes, we can award this. So at this point in time, we're requesting the county council, approve my recommendation to go ahead and adopt change orders 2 and 3, so we can move forward to, finish up the contract. I will say the belt filter press is running. It's running beautifully. The last belt filter press, I think, was over 45 years old. For just some clarifications, we did run into a situation during the bidding process where the specified belt filter press basically included the polymer chemical feed system, and then an addendum was put out for a different press that did not. So kind of the analogy would be is like we identified a GM Silverado truck with AC or air conditioning, and then put out an addendum saying, okay, we want a Ford truck with, and it didn't specify the AC. So in looking at that, there was ambiguity, and so we went back through that, and I had the engineer look at that, and they did come back and note that in their opinion, they should be awarded for that omission, I should say.
Mr. Clark, the initial project prior to these change orders for this belt filter press replacement, that was funded through a rural development grant?
Yes.
And so these change order 1 would simply exceed what we received in that previous.
And I think you said grant. Unfortunately, the belt filter press is actually a loan. So we have a capital enabling legislation. It was a $600,000 loan. I apologize. Yes.
Okay. So ultimately, this is financed through rural development. Ultimately, it is paid by the ratepayers for. Yes, sir. The Region 1, Region 2 customers.
Yes, that is correct.
So how are you going to spread? I see. So we were at $560-some thousand, so which was under the 600, and then this is going to exceed the 600 by $28,000, and you said it's going to spread it out amongst the districts. But I mean, I know we just raised their rates. How is that going to be absorbed? I mean,
it has been absorbed. I did, as part of the budget, I did include that finance fee within the budget. So for rural development, for the belt filter press, we knew we were going to be paying for that over time for 30 years. So that amount has been incorporated in the budget.
the 600, but what about the extra
The
28? How are we going to absorb that?
That would have to be absorbed by the operating budgets. So through the annual operating budget. So that's how we'd absorb it, is basically through.
I mean, is there enough profit, so to speak, in the enterprise fund?
We are looking at having enough, I would say definitely for Unionville, Toombsville, Scottsville, Royal Oak, Newcomb, Bellevue, Unionville, Toombsville, Scottsville, and Martingham. I believe we will have sufficient funds within St. Michael's to cover that as well. I think one of the things, as council knows, we had done the analysis at basically $300 per year. We actually increased it to $325 a year, so we have a little extra buffer there. So, I mean, that's the one thing we do have.
Right, because we have several different enterprise funds, and some do a little better than others. And so, some will be able to absorb it okay, and some of them maybe not so much. And sometimes one hand is feeding the other a little bit.
And I will say for the council, I mean, we are working very hard right now, trying to get approval from MDE. We're going to talk about one item, which is the belt filter press, the pump station, Royal Oak Pump Station. But we are also looking at the sewer extensions associated with Resolution 235. And we're working as quickly as we can to try and get that out the door and bid on and hopefully start the process of connecting houses by March. So that would actually, one of the advantages we'd have with that is we'd be seeing capital charges from about, hopefully up to 300 houses at $12,000 per house.
Mr. Clark, we might have asked this at an earlier stage in this process, but how is the plant? Is there a workaround while we don't have an operable belt filter press at the plant? What is going on in the absence of the equipment now?
When I will say the belt filter press is in operation. So we've probably put the belt filter press in operation about 2 months ago. So it's been operating. So there's been a little bit of a dispute between us and the contractor, and I think we've been working on that. And we had a pump situation. We've finally got that pump situation resolved and worked out, so the belt filter press again has been operating. We, as the interim, we were pumping and hauling to Easton, so we're no longer doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Just for clarity's sake, just want to double back. Ray, you are indicating that the $28,762.10 can be absorbed in your operating budget.
Yes.
Thank you.
And to clarify too, you were tonight only asking for approval of change orders 2 and 3, or requesting all 3?
We already came forward with change order 1, so 1 was already approved. So
That's
we're
all,
just
okay.
requesting change orders 2 and 3.
Well, I will move approval of change orders 2 and 3 as recommended by staff.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion seconded to go ahead and approve change order 2 and 3. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
And Ray's going to talk to you. The next item is regarding bid number 2211, which was the Region 2 sewer system extension, replacement of the Royal Oak Pump Station. As you read in your agenda packet, the county engineer is recommending that the council reject all bids for bid number 22-11 and rebid the project. A total of 4 bids were submitted. However, a question arose regarding the project scope related to the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System, SCADA, the landline communication at the pump stations, and the MBE-WBE requirements. And Ray can explain what an MBE-WBE requirement is.
Or the better acronym, MEBE-WEBE. Okay, so ultimately with that, those are actually the requirements that are put forth by MDE that we have to adhere to when we bid out projects. So we have to make a good faith effort to try and have women business enterprises as well as minority business prizes work to bid as subcontractors or generals. And then ultimately we try to advertise in minority business papers. We're doing that again right now. If the council rejects this, we'll have a notice go out to the minority business enterprise paper to notify and let all the bidders know that the 4 bidders that did bid, as well as all the bidders that have secured bid packages, and any other bidders that are interested, that ultimately we put this back out for bid. We are looking at a quick turnaround time, about 3 weeks. What we're trying to do is use this as an extension. We kind of accepted the bids. We apologize on that, but at this point we're requesting the county council reject those bids, and then we'll put out what we call an addendum number 3. That addendum number 3 will then clarify those 3 items, and we'll also we've been working with MDE. With their officer that does the minority business enterprises as well as the women business enterprise requirements. We've gotten some clarification from her that we would then put in an addendum as well to help clarify that for all the bidders. Once we had that information in, like I said, or the council rejects it, we would then probably go and put a notice in the paper tomorrow and then advertise this, and then work to get bids back in about 3 weeks.
Will this council be able to take action on these items?
I believe you would.
It's not legislative.
It's
so
not
we should-
legislative.
Right.
Right. Okay. All right.
Well, Mr. Clark, I'd like you to commend you for making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted in this process, and it's important to get this right. It sounds like the delay that this will cause in the project is not going to be material,
No.
that you will not be expecting that much more out of the life expectancy of the existing pump station, and we can get on with this project with only a minor delay through this process.
Correct.
I agree. Okay.
So do you need a recommendation, a motion on this?
Yeah, I would need
Okay,
the
so I'll
council
make
to
a
reject
motion
the
that we
bids.
reject all bids and rebid bid number 22-11.
I'll second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, got a motion and a second. Could you call the vote, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
That completes
Thank you,
the county manager report this evening, Mr. Council President.
Okay.
Call Mr. Pepper to the front to entertain us for the next 15 minutes?
Yep.
Kidding. No.
Can we do public comments or council comments or anything like that, since we gotta kill time? Or what?
I imagine the public comments will probably be related to the 2 public hearings. Council comment, if you want.
I don't think probably have anything. I guess we're gonna dance on the table.
Declare a recess for 15 minutes. Go eat another cookie.
That's fine too.
What do we want to do, council?
You might as well call for public comments and council comments.
Okay, all right.
Right, because public comments wouldn't be on the public hearings, because they would speak at the public hearing.
All right,
Well, okay, see if there's
so I guess what we'll do is
any public comments?
yep. Let's go to public comments. Okay. Anybody out here would like to come up, say anything? Okay. Public comment.
Is this on
This-
anything? Sorry, I
No.
walked in a little late.
No.
Not pertaining to the public hearing, just
Yeah.
public comment in general.
Public comment, you can come up here and tell us how great we are.
Yeah,
You
but you're
guys
gonna,
are amazing.
but you're gonna miss
I love
us.
you.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, we don't have anything there, okay. Clay, you wanna say something, or?
Well,
Yeah, I see you stewing over there.
so I think, so are we taking action on Bill 1526 tonight, or is that a public hearing?
Both.
Public hearing.
Both,
Public
both, yeah,
hearing and
yeah,
then
both
the
of them
third
are,
reader.
I
Yeah,
was wondering if we could vote
yeah.
for, no, I have nothing
Yeah.
else this evening. I would advise you consider taking a recess for 15 minutes
Yeah.
and come back with your
Yeah,
hearings.
okay, that'd
Give
be
you a
good.
chance to
We'll-
use that hammer.
Yep, yep, exactly. We'll go ahead and,
You want to recess until 6:30?
yep, we're going to recess until 6:30. Nice.
Gotta get a little pneumatic.
Yeah. Pressure, pressure. Appreciate it. All right, so let's go ahead and start the public hearing. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and read 337 into the record, please?
Resolution number 337, a resolution approving the sale of 2 contiguous and adjacent parcels of unimproved real property having an address of 112 South Main Street, Trapppe, Maryland, and further described as tax map 301, parcel 1745, consisting of 4.318 acres of land, more or less, and having an address of Main Street, Trapppe, and further described as tax map 301, parcel 1751, to the town of Trapppe, a Maryland municipal corporation, for the sum of $1, subject to certain conditions.
Okay. Mr. Thomas?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, this
Yeah.
resolution arose from a letter sent by Lindsay Ryan on behalf of the town of Trapppe, dated August 3rd, 2022, in which she expressed the town's interest in acquiring these 2 parcels of vacant park property for the county for a new town office for the town of Trapppe. The town has expressed that it's willing to assume ownership and control over the park and playground on the property and maintain the same in good condition for the public benefit
Right.
through at least 2028.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that. Okay, at this time, I'm gonna open up the public hearing. I'll give you 3 minutes to speak, and if you're gonna be representing somebody, I'll give you 5 minutes. So we'll start over here on this side here. Does anybody like to come up and talk about 337? Okay, this side here. Come on up, guys, and introduce yourself.
Lindsay Ryan, attorney for the town of Trapppe, and Nick Noonan, council president, is here with me.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you for
Welcome.
having us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. We are here in support of this resolution. As you all know, the town of Trapppe town office is very dated. I'm not sure, I think a lot of you have been there for meetings. We recently had the comprehensive water and sewer plan meeting there with the county. The council meeting room was barely large enough to fit those in attendance. We often have issues where we have larger meetings we have to hold elsewhere because we don't have the space for them. In addition, with the town of Trapppe growing over the years, they've had to hire additional staff. Originally, they were 1 office person, now they're 3. There's only 1 office within their building. So they've been looking for additional space within the downtown area, which is convenient for residents, so they can walk, they can come and pay bills, they can attend meetings. And there's just no other space that's large enough that is available within the downtown area. I think residents frequent the park, and Mr. Chase, one of the council members, brought it to our attention that there was this park property there and said, reach out to the Parks Board. They may be interested in giving it or selling it to the town of Trapppe. So we felt like it was the perfect scenario where the town of Trapppe would assume responsibility, liability, maintenance for this property, and then in the long run be able to build a new town office there. What they're thinking is a modest 3,000 square foot building. It would have 3 offices, a larger meeting room, a smaller conference room for larger town projects, a drive-through which would provide convenience to paying bills to residents. Parking, right now there's 2 parking spots at the town office. A lot of times people who attend meetings actually take the fire department parking, which is a safety issue for them. I know last week's meeting there was a little snafu with someone parked in front of actually where the trucks pull out. So it's really about providing a space for the town of Trapppe to have a new office to provide the service to their citizens.
Okay. Mr. Noonan?
She's covered everything for me.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you.
that's good. All right. Any questions?
I mean,
I know we're in a public hearing, but do you have any questions?
well, finish public hearing and I
Okay,
guess we'll have council discussion.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay,
Okay, guys, thank you.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody on this side here want to talk about 337? You're welcome to come up. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and, at this time, I guess, are we going to leave it, the public hearing open, or are we going to close it?
I think we can go ahead and close it.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead at this time and close the public hearing.
Do you want to leave it open for written comment till Friday? so I guess I would say, have some discussion. We're gonna hold off voting.
We're gonna
since
hold
Mr.
off on
Tapp-
voting, right?
Okay, so if we're holding off on voting, we're gonna have a little discussion, we might have a little discussion next week. Do you wanna, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
do you wanna leave, public, written comment open until Friday, maybe based on any discussion that we have now?
That's fine with me.
We can always
Yeah.
decide later.
Yep, that's fine. So you hear that, Madam Secretary? Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Okay, so I was provided a document, which is a DRRA, between the development of Lakeside and the town of Trappe. And it says that Lakeside, the petitioner, agrees to dedicate land within the project that is suitable for a 3,000 square foot municipal building, the town administrative building, and related improvements. And they are going to build a town office building as part of the DRRA between Lakeside and Trappe. I knew nothing about that. Doesn't seem very transparent to me. And if you're gonna have the vast majority of, over time, the homes over in Lakeside, it seems to make that makes sense. The developer is willing to provide you a free piece of land and a free town office building. I would like to know why we weren't notified about that. I mean, if you're writing us a letter and your preference is to have it in the town, then we can discuss that. But I had to have a citizen say to me, well, I just saw this DRRA, and it was never provided to the Talbot County Council.
Was this, so how did the citizen get it?
It's a public document.
So
But-
it was available for any of us?
Sure, it's available, but we didn't know it existed. So if,
I wouldn't say we.
well, I think when if anybody comes to us asking for land or whatever, and something has been provided, offered to them, that would be a transparent process.
This has been transparent, and this was discussed in the Parks Board.
Well, then maybe Mr. DeVillio, you should have brought this DRRA to our attention.
Why-
The Parks
why-
Board has
I-
nothing to do with the agreement between the town of Trappe and Lakeside that land and a building is gonna be provided for them free of charge.
I disagree. I don't need to bring this to your attention because it was the town of Trappe requesting this property. They chose it. I
It's
don't
the
need to tell the town of Trappe where to put their town hall.
I'm not asking about that. I'm saying the town of Trappe should have provided this document to the Talbot County Council, at least mentioned in the letter when they said that they wanted the land for their town office building. Easily could have said in the next paragraph, we have been offered the building will be built for us regardless of where it is by Lakeside, whether it's on this property or another parcel or in the Lakeside development. But they have offered land free of charge to the town. And all I'm saying is, we should know that. That could have been this next paragraph in the letter saying,
Would that change your opinion on
yes,
where you would force the town to locate their facility?
I think at least we have a chance to have a discussion. I don't appreciate the fact that I was blindsided by this. I would have liked to have known that Trappe had another option. But the way they wrote the letter made it seem like this is the only thing that they've got going. I'm not saying it's a bad location or not, but we should have been provided the information that they had another parcel of land being offered to them free of charge, and the town office building is also going to be built for them free of charge.
Did you take the time to ask them if they had other options and why they wanted to choose this?
Well, that's where
Because
this
it came up in the discussion when I spoke with them.
I wouldn't know to ask the question. I would have gone on their faith that they said they needed the land to build their town office building. And I think the burden is on them to provide the information that they had another option. It's not for me to just second guess, oh, maybe there's something else.
You're making the,
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
We
Yes.
have representatives from Trappe here. Would it be in order to give them an opportunity to respond?
Yeah, I was just letting them do their thing. Okay? All right, okay. Lindsay, come on up. Nick, come on up, that'd be great.
Thank you. Our intent was not to be deceitful. I don't think the question was ever asked of who was going to pay for a building. You're right, the development agreement says that the developer is required to pay for a town office up to $1.5 million. I know you all have recently been involved in the development of a new county building. That doesn't get you very far. That would also include the price of property if we didn't have one available. It also says that they have to build one within the development, and the town of Trappe has discussed it. They don't feel that that's in the best interest of the citizens of Trappe. So
Okay. Couldn't
act-
you have just said that to us? Couldn't you have just been transparent and said, we have this other offer, we feel this is better? But I had no idea, neither did the rest of the council.
Well, the development agreement has been recorded for over 20 years, and it's always required that they provide a town office. There was an amendment that it included a dollar amount, but that
amendment-
document has been recorded in a public record for over 20 years.
And I wasn't on the council 20 years ago. I'm saying, it doesn't make sense. You should have told us, and that's all I'm saying. It's not transparent, and there's been enough other things that have gone on. The other thing that I found interesting in here is that you all get $1,500 per dwelling unit for each dwelling unit within the project, and by my math, that's $3.75 million that you get. You know, and here we are talking about infrastructure that's on the county's backs, you know, for whether it's emergency services, schools, things like that. And I didn't know you guys are gonna get $1,500 for every single unit that's built plus whatever they're paying. I'm just like,
I mean, so I'm sorry, that's to address impact fees that would go to the town, similar to the impact fees that they pay the county.
and guess what? We don't get those impact fees that pretty much lie very much within the, you know, the municipalities. And we've talked, and I'm sure you followed along. Our concern is a bigger concern about schooling and emergency services. And it's not just for Trappe, it's for the two Easton, you know, couple hundred units, things like that, that have a greater impact to the entire county that is solely on the county's backs. And you can say that it's been sitting there for the last 20 years, but I think an honest letter would have said, we could use the parcel being provided by Lakeside. We would prefer it to be in the town. That's all you would have had to say.
So
And
I'd
we
like to
could have had
remind you that
conversation.
this council did vote to do an impact fee study, as I addressed in the last meeting, with the results coming back from the first meeting in January 3rd to increase the impact fees throughout the entire county. We already put that in place to do the study. We already paid and funded that. So when the longer we delay and longer the next group delays receiving those results, and if they decide to have a planning commission do a review of it, but they will already have those results in January
This
of what the
conversation
impact
isn't about
is.
impact fees.
You
This
just brought
conversa-
up the impact fees and the amount of money that they're receiving for this. So I
Right,
just
I'm
wanted
just
to make sure that the
putting
record
whole
was
thing
clear.
In this document,
Yes.
in perspective, everything that I read in this document that I didn't know about, this conversation is about an honest letter from the town of Trappe, which I personally do not feel the Talbot County
I-
got. That's all.
And
Well,
I would
I-
like to thank the town of Trappe for being very transparent when I call and speak with you, and you give me an idea of why you choose the location and why you wanted to go this route. And Mr. Chase was fantastic at the Parks Board when we discussed this, and when Mr. Pepper gave the recommendation, I was well aware. I don't feel that I was surprised or anything was that I had to have a member of the community who followed it closer than I did. I'm glad that I took the time to do the work and discuss it with you guys. So I don't want you to walk out of here feeling that you tried to lie to me.
Great. One
Well, I
council member,
appreciate
one
that.
council member knew, and again, if you knew that there was another location, I think if I had found that information out, I would have shared it with the rest of the council.
Understand. It was not the town of Trappe's intent to be deceitful. It was our intent to request a piece of property, thinking that the county already has plenty of park property that you already have to maintain, and why not make it the burden of the town of Trappe and allow the town of
We could
Trappe to
also
build a
put
town
it out to
office?
bid. Maybe somebody would like to purchase that property and we could get tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, I don't know how much. I have no idea what the assessed value is, and maybe we should do an appraisal for that piece of property. All I know, it's $1. It's certainly worth more than $1. So I know we're not going to vote on this evening. I would like to know, before voting on this, what the appraised value of that land is. there might be somebody out there that would like to purchase it, and so rather than giving something away, when there is another option, whether it's the choice or not, but we certainly should know what the appraised value of that property is, and I know Mr. Pack's not here this evening, so I just wanted to bring that to the public's attention, that there is another parcel, and the town office building, again, while 1.5 million may not cover the whole thing, it's still gonna go pretty good way.
It may, but it would also be a benefit to the TRAPPE residents and county residents to have a municipal building in town where they can walk to pay their bills and attend meetings. So I understand the benefit to the county in receiving the money, but there's also the benefit to the county in allowing the TRAPPE residents to walk to their building.
Benefits to
And so if
TRAPPE
we,
TRAPPE residents.
if we did appraise this and it came back at $378,000, then that burden would fall on the municipality's taxpayer base to pay the county the $378,000 appraised value for something that we were given for $1.
It would, and as Ms. Price quoted the development agreement, it requires the developer to build a municipal building within the lakeside property. So they very well could say, we're not fronting money for that piece of property, then it's on the town of TRAPPE residents to pay for that property.
And that would be the TRAPPE Town Council that makes that decision.
Yes.
Right, but it doesn't mean TRAPPE has to pay for it. You know, again, with 2,500 homes going up, maybe it's gonna be more central for it to be at Lakeside when there's only a few hundred residents in the town. I'm just saying, over time, the better location might be at Lakeside.
Possibly 20 or 30 years from now. I don't think that their intent is to wait that long to provide a new town office.
And the other thing, that's for their council to decide. So,
Yep.
Anybody else?
Just, Mr. President,
Yes.
if we need to act on this next week, a 1-week time frame is awfully tight to obtain an appraisal. Would it be sufficient for these purposes if we simply got access to the assessed value and use that as a placeholder for this? It would, at least, it might not be the exact value, but it
Sure.
would give us an order of magnitude
Sure.
and give us a general sense. Since we're not really looking to sell this for a fair market value, I would not be looking to sell this for a fair market value to the town of Trappe. It would at least inform the decision of the value that we would be transferring to the town.
Would it, and how would we put in the future dollar cost of the perpetual care of the playground and the dollar spent that Parks and Rec uses to maintain the property for no apparent use? That should probably be
There's
taken into
one other thing in
consideration
the
as
letter.
well.
The Board of Education, the county council pays for everything the Board of Education owns. So while it says that the council understands the property was deeded to the county council in 1972 by the Talbot County Board of Education for $1, well, guess who ultimately paid for that piece of property that the Board of Education was using?
So that, but
So-
that was the Trappe school, was that, so Trappe proper, would that have been?
I'm saying that parcel did not cost the county $1. When the county at some point obviously bought a parcel of which the school board used. The school board has now excess property which they gave back for $1. But that's not a dollar for dollar trade. Sometimes if there is no true cost, there was a cost at some point when Talbot County Council provided that property to whatever school building was there.
Weren't the municipalities in charge of building their schools back then when this was built?
Don't think so. I don't think that's ever been the case.
When Oxford had a school?
Well, let's.
It's a good question, but I
appreciate
don't know that
appreciate
that's
it,
ever been
guys.
the case.
And I'd like to get Mr. Pepper up here for a minute when we start talking about land and back and forth, and he's an expert in this. Let's hear from you.
So this piece of property came into question when the Parks Board responded to the letter that was given to us from the town of Trappe. This is an excess piece of property. This is where the ball fields basically used to be before Home Run Baker was built, and it's not uncommon when a new sports complex goes in that the old one kind of goes into more of a passive recreation type thing. Right now, a lot of different events used to go on here, Traptoberfest, the car show, things like that. They have all moved on. Some of them are over at the firehouse. So right now, this property is predominantly the back part of it, you know, the larger square of it that you can see in the picture. It's pretty much just mowed and maintained, wood, trying to keep the woodlands at bay, so to speak. There is a playground on the front part, which is gonna come due in 2028. That's its 20-year lifespan, so in 2028, that playground will need to be removed and then either replaced or not replaced.
Thank you.
What was the recommendation of your committee?
So the park board's recommendation was to, there have been a couple different recommendations. The final recommendation was to sell the property to the town of Trappe for $1, with the concession that there would be a replacement playground put in 2028 by the town of Trappe, which theoretically could apply for a state grant to pay for that playground. The thought process is we didn't want to go through another removal of a playground without replacing a playground, since we've been through that before.
What was some of the other discussion before you got to that final?
I think the big discussion was just whether or not there was a lot of use in that property anymore. You know, just the mowing cost is about $3,000 to $5,000 a year plus manpower to maintain it. That's pretty much the discussion.
Right, you said there was other recommendations before you finally came to this one, though.
I mean, there were a recommendation of trying to find a value for it, like to sell it for, let's say, $50,000, $75,000. The thought process is by going with $1 and the replacement of the playground was that if we didn't sell it, we are going to be on the hook for that $150,000 playground down the road. And we've already got 6 other playgrounds that are all gonna come due at the same time. The thought was if we could pass the onus of having to replace this one onto another municipality, it would actually work in the county's benefit.
Okay, that seems fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right, anybody else want to talk about this property? Okay, guys, that's good. All right. So we're gonna hold that open for written comment till Friday. And then, next meeting, we'll go ahead and vote on this. Okay? All right, Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and read Bill 1526 into the record?
Bill number 1526.
Thank you.
An emergency bill to authorize a capital project for the removal and replacement of the ice rink floor at the Talbot County Community Center, and to authorize an inter-project transfer of $950,000 from the appropriation approved by Bill number 1171 for the extension of water and sewer lines to the Talbot County Community Center to the capital project authorized hereunder.
Okay. Yep, I'll go with public comments first. So, so I'll open up. Go ahead.
Do we want Mr. Pepper to just explain the scope of what's going on here for the benefit of the public before we dive into
Yeah,
this?
sure. Okay.
So as was discussed in the previous meeting, the ice rink floor has failed and needed to be replaced. It was kind of, we had thought that there was a short-term fix, about a $55,000 chill mat, which is basically what was gonna fix the problem. When that was all hooked up and plugged in and turned on, it did not work the way it had planned. The issues were much more expensive than we had previously thought. The problem is being that it's in a concrete floor, it's kind of hard to see a lot of these things until, you know, the worst part happens. The floor is over 40 years old. So the problem is it's the way that it functions is there's 11 miles of plastic tubing in that floor, and all it takes is, you know, a one leak to let that brine mixture out, which is it's a solvent that runs through the piping that chills the floor. It keeps the floor cold when we turn the ice on. It's about 11 times saltier than the ocean, so it doesn't react well when it gets in contact with concrete over time. So it's has met its life expectancy, for lack of better words.
Can I ask a quick question for the
Yeah,
public
yeah,
hearing? Is there any type of sensor that could have been underneath to detect a leak underneath the concrete that we could possibly know, or as we put the new one in, so that we would know something like this before it fails like that?
I've never heard of one.
Okay.
I can't say no, but I do not believe that there is a way to do that, no.
All right, thank you.
Any other council comments right now? Okay, all right, thank you, Preston, I appreciate it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and open it up to the public hearing and give you 3 minutes individual. If you're representing somebody, 5 minutes. So let's start over here on this side. Does anybody want to come up and talk about 1526? Okay, on this side, 1526, anybody want to comment on it? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yep,
Give us your name and organization and
yep.
My name is Dave Lavasser. I am the current president of the Easton Ice Hawks, also known as the Eastern Shore Hockey Association.
Yep.
Just a quick thing I wanted to read to you guys. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak this evening. I speak on behalf of the East Shore Board of Directors, our parents, and most importantly, our players. We would like to thank you all for your efforts to expedite the repairs of the rink floor. Our organization currently has roughly 180 registered players spanning over 12 teams between the ages of 5 and 18. To us, it's not just an ice rink. It's a place where our kids have met teammates, these teammates have become friends, and in many cases, these friends have become extended family. This is what hockey means to us. The loyalty, the responsibility, the desire to work hard for something other than oneself, and above all, the love for your team. It's not just ice, but it's a common bond that we all share. It's not traveling across Maryland, Virginia, DC, Delaware, just to play a 45-minute game. To us, the Talbot County Community Center is our home. When news of the floor failure at the end of last year's season broke, we were concerned. The council and the community center staff came up with a temporary solution, and our concern became less. The temporary solution was quickly found, and we thought our season was saved, although slightly delayed. As we all know, that fix was only intended to be a Band-Aid on a bigger problem that was lurking under the floor. Unfortunately, that problem beat us to the punch. Upon hearing of the total failure in September, we were devastated as an organization. After the initial shock wore off, there were many questions. What would our kids do, and what kind of season would we have, if any, were among them? Those questions were answered at an amazing speed. Councilman DeVillio informed me that the council was working on a solution. He told me that he had spoken to the other members of the county and assured us that you were all ready to take this project head on. Not only was the council on board, but also the staff at the community center. When the first step of the process was approved, they began to prep the building for the project. Tonight, with the approval of this project, we know that we will be back to the rink soon, back to the place that we are proud to call home. We cannot say thank you enough for taking these unprecedented steps to get our kids back on the ice. In closing, while I represent the Ice Hawks organization, it's not only about the organized hockey. It's about the memories created and the lessons learned that will stay with these young athletes for the rest of their lives. Thank you all again for your support of this project and helping our kids live out their dreams.
Thanks a lot, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yep, great, I couldn't agree with you more than that, I can tell you that. That's perfect. Okay, anybody else like to come up? Okay. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on that, on 1526. Council.
Look, I think we recognize as a council what a crucial public asset this ice rink is. It is something that we are proud of in this community. It is something that our neighboring jurisdictions don't have, either in public ownership or in private ownership. It draws people from quite a distance around to Talbot County. And what it adds to youth recreation, to recreation in general in this county is immeasurable. This is one of those assets that contributes to the quality of life in this county. This is one of the assets that makes this a better place to live. I'm a believer that we need to take care of what we have, of what has been entrusted to us. And it is unfortunate that we've gotten to this position where we are going to lose a substantial ice time over this coming season. Because of the timing of this discovery, I'm assured that our staff and our Parks Board has done everything that they can to try to address this problem in as expeditious a manner as possible, and I am fully ready to support the solution. I'm sorry that we're losing ice time, but boy, this is important to do, and I'm ready to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Lusher.
So I would completely agree. The community center is an enterprise fund, and they're challenged with making money, and if they don't have a facility to use, then they can't do it. So I'm happy to step in as quickly as possible, and I appreciate Mr. Pepper, his work in this, getting the plans out, submitting the RFP, finding a contractor to do the work.
Right.
I'd like to thank Martha Sparks from Finance, helping to find the money. That's the other main part of this. And I'd like to thank those members who are staying here and staying committed to the organization. It will be back. It will be stronger and better. I stay very optimistic about that. And I thank the community for their patience with this, and I'm happy to move forward with it.
Thank you, Mr. DeVillio. Ms. Price.
Sure. This place is very near and dear to my heart. I was one of those original people who started skating out there 44 years ago. And I agree with what the said about the hockey and what it does. It's not just a sport. It's something that shapes youth. And I know that from my experience that I had there, that it changed my life. Because it is only a 6-month season, I did have to move away to continue my training to be able to get to the national level of figure skating. But without a place like this, I mean, and what that teaches youth, I mean, whether you're just going out obviously for fun, but there are people, you know, in lots of different sports, and sports really does change your life and molds you, at least partially, into who you become. And so I am extremely supportive of this. It's unfortunate, but the fact that the concrete floor and the plastic that's in there was there when I started skating there all those many years ago. We did get our money's worth out of it. I'm very sad that we're going to lose some of that season, but you know, maybe in the future, based on some other changes at the community center, maybe this is something that we can ultimately have more than 6 months out of the year. So I look forward to seeing that possibility as well, and certainly we're going to work as fast as we can, or we're going to have the contractors work as fast as they can to get you back on the ice, hopefully close to Christmas or first of the year. So I'm definitely supportive.
And I'm going to say, with my colleagues, I can't. There's been many, many, many times, and you know, me born and raised here, and I think the thing was built in '78 or '79, and there wasn't anything better than Friday night skating. Hundreds of kids, all of us, you know. So I enjoyed it. Just the whole being in the hockey world, myself being coaching, and you know, I had one gentleman say, "Who'd you play for?" I said, "Well, I didn't play, but I watched a lot of it on TV." So hockey's just a special world. It's true to my heart. My boys played it. We got a big deal guy out here too that plays hockey too, and coaches too. So Tim, appreciate everything you're doing for the league too. You know, and there's a lot of special people that make this program run. And I appreciate all your time, your effort. When we're going down Route 50 and we've got the hockey rink on one side and we got the golf course on the other side, this council has devoted both of these projects here for the golf and the hockey. We're all in.
Ham,
What?
hockey rink, sir?
Okay, figure skating. Yeah, figure skating. I won't
Both.
forget that.
It's
Sorry.
both.
Sorry. But, you know, this council's all in. I mean, it's a big part of our county. Everybody loves it. It's an impact for business. You know, it just brings a lot to us, and it's a special place. And that's, like Mr. Lusher said, that's what makes it special around here, having these type of facilities. So I'm proud to support it. I apologize for, you know, the stuff that you had to go through to get to this point, and I apologize. Our intentions were to get you band-aided up for a while and go forward and do this after your season. but obviously it didn't work out that way. But I just want to let everybody know that this council is all in and wants to get it done as fast as we can and get you guys up and running. And keep in mind, so what's special about not only the ice is, you know, Preston is in the process, and this council's in the process of doing an auditorium too on the other side.
Gymnasium.
A gymnasium, I'm sorry. So, you know, there's a bright future for this whole complex. So, but I appreciate your patience. If you guys need anything and need to know what the progress is going, please give us a call. But we're hoping, Preston, that sometime in January we'll have ice, right? Okay, so we'll cross our fingers anyway. So, other than that, Madam Secretary or Mr.
Yeah, so,
Yep.
council, staff on behalf of the Department of Recreation and
Yep.
Parks is requesting council to award a contract to American Arena LLC.
Right.
I'm sorry?
Have to vote on the bill first.
So I make a motion to approve bill number 1526.
Second.
Move it to third reader first.
Oh, third reader?
Yes. So we need a motion to move it to third reader.
So
and
I
then-
make a motion that we move bill number 1526 to third reader.
Second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, we got a motion second to move 1526 to the third voter. Can you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Okay.
He needs 4/5. So now you'll vote on the bill, and it requires a 4/5 vote as an emergency bill.
Okay. Okay.
You'll ask the
Okay. So,
clerk to read,
Right.
to perform the third reading.
yeah,
And
that,
Laura
that's.
will interrupt, please.
I was trying here. Okay, Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and read the bill, please?
Bill number
I ask that
1526.
so much be considered a reading.
Thank you.
Gosh, is that gonna be the last time I do that in 12 years, or do I get to do it one more
It
time?
might be. Yep.
Now I make a motion to approve bill number 1526 to award the bid.
Second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, we got a motion second to go ahead and award 1526 of approximately $950,000 to put the new ice down. Can you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pack?
Mr. Pack votes aye.
Great. Okay. Let's get to work.
So now that the money's been moved and it's available,
Mhm.
we're requesting council's approval to award a contract to American Arena LLC in a sum of $946,800. Work will be substantially completed within 90 days. America Arena LLC is already under contract with Talbot County for the replacement of the ice plant. This is an extension of an existing contract, bid number 2111.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, we got a motion second to go ahead and award the contract to the contractor. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Okay, all done. We just need ice now, that's all we need. And Preston, I want to really thank you. I know you took a couple shots and hard days on all that stuff, but I really appreciate you hanging in there and getting to where it got to go. So I appreciate it. And folks out here, I really appreciate all you guys are doing for us too. Okay.
I'd like to just take a second to thank Mr. Dave Lavasser. That
Yes.
as the president of ESHA, he's had an extremely challenging job. There's been a lot of kids who've deflected and moved to different programs.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of questions and fights and trying to downsize teams and figure things out. And he has really stepped up and done a wonderful job. This was his first year as president, and he walked into a hornet's nest. And I can't imagine a more challenging position, maybe Preston. But he has really handled it with grace, and I appreciate his leadership.
That sounds great. Appreciate that, Dave, you stepping in there and doing that, you know. I know what it is to step into. It can take heat too, and it's not fun. But it's leaders like you that make this program run, and those people that have probably thought, well, I'm gonna go somewhere else, you wait till next year, they'll all be back. So, I appreciate it. So, anybody else like to say something? Okay. All right, so I guess we're down to Really?
Council comment?
Council comments, yeah?
Okay, so we did public comments and
We-
there
we
wasn't
did.
any? Okay.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah.
This might be my last Mako report. I'm sure I'll have something to say overall, but what I would like to talk about a little bit today is, first, I finished all 24 jurisdictions. Executive Director Sanderson and I went in person to probably 18 of them and maybe had 5 or 6 virtuals. And so that was great to travel around the state. But the other thing that happened last week was the Mako initiative subcommittee approved our 4 legislative initiatives for the 2023 General Assembly session, and then our larger legislative committee. We meet a couple times a year off cycle from the General Assembly, and I would like to tell you all what they are. So we have 4, which our bylaws say we can't do more than 4. So next year, the first one is centralized resources for body-worn cameras. So I think it's by 2025 that all officers have to have a body-worn camera. Most jurisdictions and all have them at this point. But the problem really is redaction. You know, if you have a piece of paper, you can take a black Sharpie and you can mark through what you don't want. But when you've got body cam footage and you have hours and hours and hours and every officer is wearing it, and you have to worry about maybe a victim in that background, or a small child, or somebody else that shouldn't be in there, you have to go through every hour of that footage, and it's extremely expensive. And individual counties and municipalities, because the municipalities, and there's 157 of them in the state of Maryland, you know, some of them very small, we don't have those resources. So what we want to do with that one is, if you choose, you know, have the state basically take that on, so it's just not just the redaction, but also the storage of all this footage. And if there's one centralized location, it wouldn't mean that the county or the municipality would have to store it there. If you want to do it yourself, you can. But if the state would have a larger resource of which we could, you know, have our storage and the redaction done at that level, so we're definitely going to be advocating for an opt-in and a state and local partnership for the equipment and services, and more balanced rules releasing, also regarding releasing the body-worn camera footage. You don't want somebody just coming in and saying, give me all of your footage, right, without a real reason for it. So that is initiative number 1. The second one is adult use cannabis. Now, we all know that that's on the ballot in 3 weeks. And while Mako obviously doesn't take any position on for or against that, the polls are showing that probably by 70% that's going to pass. So what do we do with it? There will be quite a bit of revenue that the state's going to be using, I think some for schools and whatnot. So what do we do with that? Does the county get a share of that revenue, or is it going to be a separate taxation? Might the counties also, you know, because we're going to have to deal with that. We're going to have to do, you know, whether you agree with adult use cannabis or not, there are still going to be things that happen, just like we deal with people who have overindulged in alcohol and other drug problems. There's still going to be some fallout from it. So we need some of that money to help pay. So that's half of what we're looking for, is making sure that we have an opportunity to either share in a piece of this state's revenue, or whether we have our own piece of whatever percent is appropriate. The other piece is, we also like our local autonomy and our zoning, and there might be a county that wants to opt out. Maybe they don't want that distribution center or grower in their county, and so we're not commenting on whether or not whether that should happen again. But if a county and their elected officials choose to opt out of that local autonomy, which is the biggest thing that Mako stands for, that's important. So obviously, if you're going to opt out, you're probably not going to revenue share. So that's our second initiative. I know it's a little bit long, but this is probably going to be the last time I talk about this stuff, because this is all going away in about 6 weeks, right? I think you guys are going to love this one as well. Volunteer fire recruitment and retention. We all know, and we hear it every year, how hard it is. And especially in the smaller, more rural jurisdictions where we rely on 100% volunteers, We know how hard that is. We have upped the money that we give to our Talbot County fire departments, and that's really important. And we don't, honestly, none of us know what to do. MACO's not saying that we have the answer. So what we're looking for this year is advocating for a broad, stakeholder-driven effort to study and recommend best practices to recruit and retain volunteer firefighters, and evaluate the options to modernize support for their frontline services. We have to make sure that our paid firefighters are also on board with this. So that's why we want to do a study, so that we know all the players are at the table. So sometimes you go, oh, you know, a study, you know, not getting anything done, but that's not true, because those legislators, they want to know, we don't want a union or somebody else to come in and say, but we don't want to give this to the volunteers because, you know, we have paid people over here. And we know sometimes that's a struggle between the paid firefighters and the volunteer. So we want to make sure everybody's on board. So we're looking to get the legislature to bless an official study so that we can get all the players in the same room together and agree and come back next year to figure out maybe some solutions and put everybody's head together on what we can do to recruit and retain volunteers. The last one, we couldn't let a year go by without something in education. We know that the blueprint for Maryland's future, a la known as Kerwin, that phase-in has advanced, and we need to make sure that there's transparency in the reporting of sources and uses and outcomes for education investments. I'm just going to read straight from this because it's easier. Federal relief and rescue funding has compounded the concern for black box spending without public clarity. So we don't know necessarily, once we approved a school budget in the 13 categories, there was a lot of additional funds going into the schools' budgets for various things that we don't really know a lot of where they went. There is the AIB, which is the Accountability and Implementation for the AIB board, which is the transparency board to make sure that there's oversight. There's a brand new budget tracking software too for school systems that we just found out about. And basically what we're saying is we want them to provide the same information to us that any other department would. And so any information that's going to be gleaned through this new school system budget tracking software, we think we should have access to. We're not asking for anything different than what they're already going to be doing, but we feel as the counties, we should have that same level of insight that the state's going to get, so that the counties can see that. And that's another tool in the toolbox to make sure that they're fulfilling their fiduciary duties. And have, partnering in school success. So we started with 35, and we whittled and whittled down. The last meeting was actually one of the easier ones that we've had. It was pretty easy to get down from the 10 where we were. There were two others that we're definitely going to, and maybe I'll save that for the next meeting just to tell you a little bit about those other two. We can't have more than 4, but there's a couple of other topics that I'll bring back to you next week just to talk about briefly. But I'm really proud of the work of the initiative subcommittee again. This is that one-page sheet that we're going to, I say we, whatever, they will be walking around Annapolis with, making sure that our legislators are aware of, and it's important that every county elected official know what they are so they can go to their individual delegations to get support for these 4 initiatives, in addition to other pieces of legislation, obviously, that MACO takes positions on every year. So thank you for letting me share this with you.
Absolutely. Mr. DeVillio?
Well, Mrs. Price, when the adult cannabis passes and they're looking what to do with it, let me know. I'll show you. You roll it up and smoke it. Maybe a little Allman Brothers or Pink Floyd go on the radio. I'd like to thank this council for moving forward with the ICE. This has been an extremely emotional issue for the community. There's a lot of kids that recreationally use it. Friday night skate is a big event. And Mr. Callahan was correct. There's a lot of kids that are out there. We often hear that there needs to be more activities for kids, and that's a big Friday night one. And I do regret that the kids are missing it, and I take it on. I accept responsibility for this, being the parks liaison for it. So if anybody wants to call and take out their aggression, I'm happy to listen and accept that. Secondly, I just want to say that I really, this council is wrapping up, and I've really enjoyed it. It's extremely challenging work because there's 40,000 people in this county, and everyone's different. Mr. Pack said the other night, you can't get 3 people to agree on dinner. And so we shouldn't agree, but we work well together. I really, with this group, you've got a college football player, you've got a national quality skater, you've got, were you a national champion gymnast, didn't you? State champion gymnast, an Eagle Scout, and myself. But we all bring different perspectives here. We all live in different areas of the county, and we have different activities and backgrounds. And so we should not completely agree on everything, but we do get along. And I appreciate that. It is extremely challenging. I apologize for letting my emotions take the better of me sometimes, and I know that they have. But at the end of the day, I do appreciate working with all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Villia. Well said.
Thank
Mr. Lesher.
I have nothing further tonight.
Okay. And I just want to sort of bounce on that with Ms. Price and Mr. DeVillio. First of all, thanks for all your hard work at Mako in the last year, because you've been traveling and doing the Maryland tour and bringing all this information back, and not only that, writing articles for several, how many weeks? I mean, week after week you were doing all that. So that was a good job, and I appreciate your hard work on all that stuff. Mr. DeVillio, that some of the things you said when it comes to the kids, the ice rink, being on the board, that's a hard board to be on, and I appreciate you being on it. And I was on it for 4 years too, and it was constantly something that needed to be repaired, or sort of trying to coordinate people in the community. But I'm proud of this council to take those actions. It took a team to do that, and we did it. And Preston, once again, I hate to keep putting you up here, but you did it. You helped out, you made it work, and you made it happen. So I know sometimes it's not fun answering those calls, but you did a great job. And staff, Clay, you put this thing together too, and got with Martha, and we got this done. So I really, really appreciate it. And Jess, and Susan, and all the paperwork, my man over there, Patrick, So, and the other big thing that the public needs to know today, we signed the contract, and we now own a new safety complex that we're going to be putting the sheriff's department in. So this council has done amazing work, amazing things for this county, and I really appreciate it. So, being that said, Mr. Lesher, you want to go ahead and wrap us up?
The County Council's next meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 25th, beginning at 6:00 p.m. The council will be convening an open session at 4:30 p.m. and then adjourning into closed session to discuss real estate, legal, and personnel matters as listed on the statement for closing that meeting. Therefore, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting and reconvene as noted?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion second. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.